Oh, all right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dren Hatamata, and we're going to be reading some creepypasta. This'll be... So, one, it did win the poll. It was both one on Twitter and one on Discord for creepypasta. I'd completely forgotten that this was going to be the first stream. If it was on my regular schedule on regular work week, it would not have been. It'd be in the next few days. So, we'll be able to get this started early, and if I maintain the schedule all month, we'll get 5 whole weeks of creepypasta. Now, I don't know how anyone else likes to do theirs, but we've been going through 8,000, and we hit 899 last time, with the last one being, Have You Seen the Shadows Dance? I don't remember it that much, but that's alright. We'll just keep chugging along. So, unless someone says otherwise, I'm going to put on some music. I want it to be nice and low. So let me know if you need it higher or more, or if you just don't want music at all. The way I used to do this was I would not have any music, and you would be able to fill in the background however you wish. But it got a little monotonous, and a little hard to read after a while. So I started going ahead and putting on music. That is subject to change, and I don't have all the music necessarily that I would otherwise use. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. The next creepypasta is... He Didn't Come Home That Night. There we go. These are in order, between page numbers. And there are a lot of single-page ones. It'll be almost halfway, maybe a third of the way, so this will be interesting. He didn't come home that night. It was the 3rd of July, in 2004, and it was just the start of summer vacation. My friends and I couldn't think of what we could do until we agreed to go up to our local woods. We spend most of our days there and usually play childish games like hide and seek and stuff like that. There are many underground tunnels around the perimeter of the woods, and it was fun to go in and adventure. Today we decided to go down to them, and for the first time, by the time we had been playing for a while, it was about 8 p.m. and getting dark. I told him we should go home, and our mothers wouldn't want us to be in the massive woods while it's dark. But he insisted that we check out the tunnels. We climbed down the ladder, grabbed the flashlight, and continued to walk through the massive tunnels. This one does not work, does it? Let me go ahead and shuffle to... There we go. There were many words on the walls, such as "He is here," and drawings of circles with a cross through them. I didn't think much of it. It also had writing in white text saying, "He is the operator." I told him we should head back now because the flashlight just broke and we couldn't see. I told him countless times, but he had no response. I turned around. He wasn't there. He must be lost, I thought to myself. I looked around all the tunnels and couldn't see him, and I got out and decided to run home and tell someone. It was foggy by now, and I turned around to see one tall figure. His face was pale. He was standing amongst the trees beside what seemed to be another child. It was my friend. The tall figure started moving towards me slowly. It was writhing, twitching. I ran as fast as I could. My friend didn't come home that day. That was interesting. The few run-on sentences made it a little harder to read. I think this one probably could have used a little bit more expansion on what was going on around, but otherwise it was all right. All right. He is everywhere. Can I... Hold on, let me change my preview. Can I change my preview pane to be a little bit bigger? Because that doesn't... I'm wanting this to be a little bit easier to see. Alright, whatever. I'll deal. I'll deal. Oh. He is everywhere. Wherever you go, if you look carefully, very carefully, you will see him. He follows everyone, everywhere. But if you have seen him or talk of him, he will not leave you alone. Every moment you are alone, he will appear in front of you. He will not hurt you. He will just stare at you with his giant red eyes. You will become insane. He will bring you to the point of suicide. I was 12 years old, walking home from school. It was just another day. My friends were being stupid, talking about this guy who watches you always. Little did I know, they were right. I meant nothing of it. The next day, I had just got to school when my teacher pulled me out of class saying one of my friends, Liam, had commit suicide. Leaving a note saying the man was too much for him. Watching him all night. He had left a brief description of him. Giant red eyes, no arms, and no mouth. The rest of the day, class was silent. I was thinking, what would happen if I found him? I decided not to find out. 1 year later, I was alone in my house. I walked past my mirror and thought I saw something. I looked at it for a while. No, it can't be, I mumbled to myself. It's just my mind playing tricks. I saw a thing which matched the description of my friend's soffing himself note. After that point, I was seeing him everywhere. Wait, is that narrative? I think I made it worse by looking him up on the internet. I was 16 years old. That was 16 years ago. Since then, my life has really gone to shit. I have become completely obsessed with him. Drawing him. Looking at him in the night. It feels like we are some sort of friend. No. This is what he does to you. He draws you in, and then you kill yourself. I know I haven't got long until it completely consumes me. Neither of you. You know of him now. You have little time left. This was the note found in the scene of the suicide pinned on the body hanging from the ceiling. The insane man was in need of treatment but never... Wait, what the fuck was that thing? My mic stand is driving me insane. That's a little better. Sorry about that. He is there. You can see him. Just standing there. You can smell him. That putrid, rotten flesh. The darkness does little to conceal him, and only makes the sight more frightening. You want nothing more than to crawl into your bed and forget the haunting sight. You wonder why he chose to stand there. Night after night, nothing ever seems to change. Every night, you hear him creep closer. You hear his footsteps first in the distance and then outside your door. It's supposed to be. The rancid stench of the long decayed flesh wafts in from underneath and threatens to choke you with every breath. You want to scream, but you hold it back out of fear from him hearing you. But you know it's pointless. He knows you are there, and you know he knows it. That's part of what's been driving you mad. He knows that you know as well, and is content to let you wallow in your fear. You wonder what you did to deserve his terrifying presence. Was it that you murdered your mother? Surely not. That bitch deserved to die. Was it the time you refused to help that dying woman? No, she was old and bound to die anyway. Could it have been that you turned your back on your daughter and did nothing while her attackers did as they pleased? Oh, God damn it. Of course not. I'm not saying that. No matter. Even if you did nothing to deserve his presence, he was there regardless. Always there. You got a few moments of relief in the daylight, but the smell clung to your clothes and even in your very pores. You were never truly alone. Even within the pure white walls of your only sanctuary, he was there, just outside your door. You can see him, and you could smell him. The men in white coats tell you that it's all in your head, that the guilt of your crimes caused you to have a psychotic break. But you know they're lying. You're too smart to fall for it. You never regretted what you did. You know he was sent as a punishment for getting caught. That had to be it. You can see him outside the door now. Just standing there, like he does every night. But wait. This time is different. You can see the doorknob is turning, and the smell of putrefying skin and bone overwhelms you. He is there, next to you, watching you, killing you. Written by Rainbow Pariah. That one is pretty good. A few hard moments on that, but it is what it is. I think it's really in the mind. And is Arabella the name of the person who owns the Rainbow Pariah account? Excuse me. It looks like he has a whole he is watching series. Sounds like the same author as the one previous, but I don't think it is. That one was like proofread and everything. All right. He is watching us all. Have you ever had the feeling you are being watched? I'm sure you have. Everyone has had this feeling. It doesn't matter if you're old or young. You're being watched all the time. It will be lurking around your house, around places you often go to. People will call you crazy. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But I can tell that this person is real. I'm sure you all think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Because after all, your sanity is the only thing that keeps this thing away. When you lose your sanity, it will eat you alive. Not from the outside like some kind of cannibal. It will eat you up from the inside out, starting with your brain, ending with your soul. When it reaches your soul, your life will slowly fade away. The fastest option is to off yourself. If you don't do it, your life will pass slowly. Very slowly. Seconds will feel like minutes, minutes will feel like hours, and hours will feel like days. When you feel like a week has passed, while you sit in a darkened room waiting for the end, you will see that you only sat there for 12 hours. You will probably have a mental breakdown, and you scream for someone to end this. That's the sign for this thing to start its horrible hobby. He will walk into your room, staring at you with a freezing look. The longer you stare in its eyes, the weaker you get. You can't scream, can't move, you can't even breathe. Just when you think you're going to die, he will come closer with his face saying, "Boo." You will pass out and wake up in a hospital. You have been cut up, and the people at the hospital are stunned by the fact that you survived all this. The doctor walks to you, he grabs you by the throat and starts choking you. He will come close with his face saying, "Boo." That will be the last thing you will remember, as you will slip in a coma. No one can save you. You will slowly die, suffering. You probably want to know how I know this. Well, I am one of its victims, the first one who didn't go insane. And now I'm telling the world about this. So next time you feel you're being watched, run for your life and don't look back. That was pretty interesting. We have been the ambiguous it that we don't have a description for. I like the descriptions of like what it does to you. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, honestly, like a solid 9 out of 10 for like what you have here. I'd love to see a bigger version of this following someone who's actively going through this from like a second or third party point of view or something. I think it'd be neat. He is watching. My name is Mark, and I'm 16 years old, and one day my friend Spencer was spreading a scary rumor about a guy who watches you with a hammer in his hand and drives you insane. Knowing Spencer, he was pulling a prank on me. One time, he did a Slenderman prank on me by standing outside with a suit. I would have been scared shitless if I hadn't seen his hair sticking out of the mask. He said, guy makes you commit suicide or he kills you himself. I never believed him. He's a good liar, but not to me. A couple of weeks later, Spencer's mom told the principal that he couldn't arrive because he was hurt. I went over to see how bad it was, and I was horrified to see his condition. I thought it was a sprained ankle, but it was much, much worse. He lay in his bed looking dead with his broken leg. His arm was distorted in 2 different places, and he was wearing a head cast. I asked him in a breaking voice what happened. He said this before he passed out. He's watching you. I took that as a threat. I locked my door every night. I closed the shades. I even made a bell system. If anyone came into the house, they would activate some bells. My mom asked if I was being threatened by someone at school. I couldn't answer. I was scared, and this was real fear, not by being hurt, but killed. It took me 4 hours every night to fall asleep. Even then, I woke up screaming. My mom talked to the principal if I was being bullied or acted differently in class. She said I was acting more distant. 2 days later, I was sent to the counselor's office. I said I was imagining this, but I know now this was real. Every night from then, I saw this man standing a few yards from my house door. He kept getting closer every day. He left during the day, came back that night. Pretty soon, I couldn't get any sleep. Sometime the next night around 4:30 a.m., I heard footsteps coming towards my door. I kept a kitchen knife under my bed. He entered my room and started to walk towards me. He looked like a regular man, but he was wearing a hood over his face and had torn up jeans. I stabbed him with the kitchen knife, and he just fell. But when I blinked, I looked in shock and horror to see it wasn't him. My mom laid down in a pool of blood. She had died on the first stab, and I remembered what my friend said. He drives you to insanity till you kill yourself. I looked in shock, and I prayed for forgiveness right before I plunged the knife into my stomach. Damn. Alright, so it's supposed to be a Slender Man thing, and you even threw in a little homage. Does it say a regular man was wearing a hood? Torn up jeans? It kinda like Jeff the Killer, I guess. But we haven't gotten to there. Huh. That was okay. I guess I just don't like it's very stereotypical for the where you off yourself at the end with like it feels like there needs to be more. And then like another issue is how did you write this then? Because it's insinuating that you wrote this post hoc, but that's one of the things that they crack down on is that hey, there's a lot of bad stories where people aren't come on now, where people aren't like fuck, what's it called? It's like people don't have an explanation for how they're writing this. It's like most of the first ones apparently did, but like the ones that just kind of end where you die, there's like no explanation to explain how did you write this. Like that's not sensible, and they cracked down on that on the Creepypasta Wikia site. So it cut down on a lot of that, and it's probably one of the last surviving ones. I got a bunch of those because I think they purged a handful of them that like some of them were inappropriate, some of them were like too far. So like, ooh, sorry. So there's that. All right. My things, my Ultra dashboard. Here we go. I need to make sure my cloud bot keeps turning off for some reason, and I don't know why. Cloudbot, I want you to please stay on. Timers. Well, it says it's on. Line minimum 2, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Excuse me. Let me just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make sure it's still working. It says it's on, but I'm not seeing them coming on. Let me do that, and then come on, back on. Okay. All right. Maybe that will worky. Maybe that'll work. We'll see. It should pop up in a few seconds. Oh yeah, I didn't know. I forgot about this. Apparently, I guess after stream, Vegan Viking Gaming, followed me. So that's cool. That's interesting. I'm surprised about that. So that's nice. I hadn't realized that was a thing. That happened until I got here today, so hooray! I like attention. I do. Which also corrected my follower goal. Because I was at like 31 and then someone dropped and then I was too lazy to fix it and then now it's fixed. That's accurate to my thing. I hear a cat. We have 6 cats now, so. Alright. He stalks me, even now. As I look into the distance, I can see him watching me still. I'm going insane. He never quits, never sleeps, and always follows me no matter where I go. I got a gun yesterday and shot at him. He disappeared and I thought maybe it was over. How wrong I was. He continued stalking me again by the next day. This time, getting closer. As I'm writing this down, extremely worried for my life, I can see him, just a little ways in the distance. And I just have 1 bullet left in the gun, and I'm about to consider who's the victim. I am considering who its victim is going to be. Can't run. This just doesn't have enough. There's not enough pasta in this meal. I'm still hungry for more. I don't feel like I know enough, man. There's something there, but it needs expansion. I need more food. Again, it's another conceptually interesting one, but there's more that needs to be built on. Like, whoever the writer is, because I don't know. I would hope that they would eventually go on and, like, make a better version of this. Which is the case for a lot of them. Finger's fucking bleeding again. Would you fucking stop bleeding? Jesus. Me pissing blood again. Anyway. He stalks me. Oh, is this a gaming creepypasta? He stalks me. I recall being a young boy and being scared of the dark. Isn't everyone at one point scared of the pitch darkness? Anyways, I would then stay up all night playing GTA 2 and the new GTA 3 as late as 2 in the morning. The reason why I stayed up was because I was scared of the dark and him. I've done some research years later that he is the Slenderman. Often, I would see a dark, long figure in the corner of my eyes. One part, I would remember closing my door and the wall in front of it was a mirror. I kept seeing this figure look at me before I quickly blink. I would just sit down I would just down it as a part of imagination since I always watched horror shows and movies at night before games. Oh, you can tell this is someone young. I would just sit down is what it should say. I would just sit down as if... I would just sit down as if it was a part of my imagination. Okay. In May 2002, I got paranoid. It was almost summer, but the house I lived in near then got robbed. As the house I lived near then got robbed. It was horrible. Now, I got scared. I got scared about getting robbed, and I left my lights on to show that even when someone was sleeping, the robbers think that someone is still here. After a few days of robbing, I couldn't sleep. It was around 1 to 3 a.m. I just couldn't sleep. I was alone. Alone was my fear. I got nobody to help me. The perfect time for me to get killed. So then I just started to lay down and trying to sleep. I then felt like I was choking intensely. I tried opening my eyes, and I got a glimpse, and I saw that same figure. I then fully opened my eyes. I saw everything. Locked, closed, and shut. I looked at the windows and double-checked. It must have been a nightmare. But now, since then, I keep seeing him everywhere in my house. Never at friends, grandparents, or colleagues' house. I still remember that nightmare. Since I later found blood dripping from one of the windows in my attic. It was a little bit, and I questioned my mom. She said, "What are you talking about?" It's not bleeding? Yeah. I mean, that's an appropriate reaction. Like when you say, "Hey, there's a little bit of blood." I could see that. This feels like someone young made this one. It does feel, it has that kind of that sense of like not being completely sure how to structure. But it has a little more world building than some of the other ones. Like for something this short. Am I still wearing shoes? I don't need no shoes. Alright. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hello. I imagine we don't need to see that yet. Oh, is this a Zolg? This is Zolgo text, isn't it? Ah, it doesn't highlight right. Let me open this one up in Word. Does it highlight that? No, it doesn't. I'll just have to look carefully at it. Whatever. He who must be named. I have been here as long as I can remember. I have no memory of my past life. All I know is slipping away. From the words of the newly added, I can piece together what happened to me. All his victims have been taken at night, woken from their sleep to see him. His face. The last thing I remember from my past life, his face staring down on me. That terrible face. When I remember waking in this place, this pit of eternal darkness, his lair, it seems fun with all the games and entertainment, but there is no escape. All of us are here. All of us here are a separate crowd. There are those who stay in the shadows sobbing for their past lives. That is what I was. There are those who play the games, ride the rides, try to forget where they are. I was that too. Now I am with the final group. The ones whose souls were taken long ago, empty and forlorn. He comes. Many are panicked. This time, it's with me. He comes occasionally, choosing those who are the worst off. They never return. I never return. He takes us away and shows us the truth, the glorious truth. Corruption, they said. Cleansing is true. Our memories return. We remember praising him, us, nameless, and named him. He who must be exalted. We are slipping away, happy to know to add him essence. Help me. Help me. I do not want this. I do not need this. I do not need this. Looks like it says birds. This corruption. Praise. I am slipping. Falling away. My skin rots, my innards boil. His will is stronger. Him. I am his slave, doing his bidding. Zalgo, help me. I think that's what it says. It's about wanting peace together, since I... Normally, you have that other... where it would normally highlight, and then... Yeah, it's whatever. It's fine. Oh. Life script. He who types. Not many know me. I know them. I know everyone. I know how they think. I know how they act. I know if they know I exist. They are always registered as crazy or insane by the people who they tell their stories to. I don't blame them, though. Who would believe a story about me? A being who doesn't breathe? He sees but does not watch. He reads but does not act. He types. He is like a scripter. The one who writes commands to run a program. I was a user. One who was numbered. There are many like me. I was user infinite. There is another user like me you might be familiar with. He was the first. To us, he is user 0. To the programs he scripts, like you, they refer to him as God. That's typical. Yeah, that's it. The computer program thing. I can only assume user infinite. That's clear enough. It's user infinite, man. What the hell, Streamlabs? I thought I activated you, you piece of shit. Stay active, please. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, baby. There we go. I just need the thing to work. Alright. Headaches. The headaches are horrible. I can't sleep, and I can't stay awake in school. The headaches are terrible. I can't sleep in school, and I can't do anything from the lack of sleep. The headaches are murderous. I can't do anything, and I keep seeing things. The headaches are scary. I keep seeing things, and they tell me to do things. The headaches are controlling. They tell me to do things, and they want me to kill. The headaches are disturbed. They want me to, and it starts with my brother. The headaches are homewreckers. It starts with my brother, and it follows to my mother. Headaches are fucked up. It follows my mother, and ends with my father. Headaches hate me. Ends with my father, and starts again with me. The headaches show me happiness. Starts again with me, and shows me how to get rid of the pain. The headaches are lifesavers. Shows me how to get rid of the pain, and wants me to open the pills. The headaches are doctors. Wants me to open the pills and chug the whiskey. Headaches are alcoholics. Chug the whiskey and go to sleep. The headaches are persistent liars. Go to sleep. Oh, that was interesting. I forget what kind of poem they call this or whatever. But yeah, that's an interesting one. All right. Oh, I remember that picture. Headless boy. Okay. About 1 year ago, I saw something that made me cry myself to sleep. I saw a headless boy that looked like my brother. This thing was outside my door, just standing there. The next night, he was there again, but this time he was closer. I wanted to touch it, but I was scared. After that night, I never saw the headless boy again. I assume by secret X posted. I'm gonna clip that. Can I look at the... Shit. Hold on, let me... Oh, I got the... Can I look at the... Brother. This thing... Okay. About 1 year ago... Oh, I remember that picture. Headless boy. Headless boy. Okay. About 1 year ago, I saw something that made me cry myself to sleep. I saw a headless boy that looked like my brother. This thing was outside my door, just standing there. The next night, he was there again, but this time he was closer. I wanted to touch it, but I was scared. After that night, I never saw the headless boy again. I assume by secret X posted. Again. I assume by secret X posted. Alright, and... Headless boy. Okay. There we go. About 1 year ago. Yep, please get done. Do. Is it working? I like clipping these short ones. It's nice, but I think I can get, what, 2 minutes, maybe? Don't yell at me. Anyway, I think that's good. Cool. Let's turn the music back on. Alright. Headless Ghost. When I was a little girl, my parents were hardworking people. Both of them went to work early and came home late. So as a child, I was raised mostly by my grandmother. I remember sitting with her on her bed and listening to scary stories. I loved these stories, Grandma told me. She told me the ones that were real incidents. One of my favorite stories was the story of the headless people. The story takes place in 1948, after the separation of Pakistan and India. Oh, this is interesting. Is this going to be I might want to look into this real quick. See if this is like a real story that they tell over there. Many Muslims migrated to Pakistan, but some stayed behind. That included my grandmother and grandfather. They were newly married and they had found a small cottage in the middle of the woods. There, they lived happily. One time my grandfather had to go out of the country for a few months. Is that too loud? It's a little loud for what I want. For a few months, my grandmother was left alone at home, but she also had many friends to visit her. For some time, everything was normal, but eventually people started seeing headless ghosts around the cottage. People would claim they saw headless ghosts sitting on the trees when they passed by. The ghosts would chase them. One man even fainted after seeing those ghosts. The word spread that the woods were haunted, but my grandmother completely denied it. She never saw a single ghost in the woods, even though she lived there for a long time. Eventually, people started spreading rumors that my grandmother was a witch, and she was the one who was summoning those ghosts. After some time, my grandfather returned, and the couple moved to Pakistan and started a family. That's all the story my grandmother would tell me. I loved hearing that story over and over again. For many years, my grandmother grew weak and became unable to talk. Due to that reason, she moved away to her second son, my uncle. Moved away to her second son. my uncle. The day we parted was really painful for me, but I acted brave. All that stuff got packed and my grandmother left. I sighed as I watched the car and the moving truck leave. Sadly, I walked inside and started sobbing in my grandmother's old room. It was completely empty except for boxes, packets, papers, and other junk. Among the junk, I noticed something. A book. I walked over and picked up the book. It was a book of black magic. I gasped and curiously flipped through the pages. I stopped when I saw a strange spell. It was a spell for summoning that summons headless ghosts. I gulped because now I knew the ending of the headless ghost story. Alright, so I'm curious. That was an interesting one. I like it. I want to see if that's real. After the separation of Pakistan and India, 1948. I don't want cars. 1948. Shit. Stayed behind. Some moved to Pakistan. So this is in India. Headless ghosts. Built by ghosts. Haunted India. Ghosts of Raj live on despite 70 years. If you ever run into a headless Englishman during your travels in India's graveyards, monuments, and former residents of the British. Let me bring this over here. Awakening ghosts in India long gone. NPR? Okay, let's see what this has to say. Every day at dusk, I was turning on the lights. My grandmother did it. My grandmother still does. A haunted house in India don't have just one ghost. It could be a whole family. They are Shangchunis and Pitnice. Ghosts of the women who are unlucky. This kid, I'm not seeing anything in particular. I mean, some results came up with, like, this being the idea, but that's definitely not one of those. Haunted India, Ghost in the Rush. This one has, like, a... into a headless Englishman travels around India's graveyards, monuments, and the residents of the British. Cross paths with a ghostly upper-class British woman in the flowing white gown. You are caught off guard by a long-dead sentry asking for a cigarette. There isn't really any reason to be scared or even surprised. British rule, the ghosts of Roz are everywhere. It's least metaphorically, in some way literally. Okay, so this is just listing like a handful of different ones. Okay, so there's some reason for it. Alright, that's interesting. Nice to know. That just seemed like something that had some basis that someone's dealt with before. Alright. Oh, wait, this is one of the... This is an old one. I think this one's also often called high beams, and there's a couple variations of this. Headlights. Or I think sometimes it's called high beams. Headlights. One night a woman went out for drinks with her girlfriends. She left the bar fairly late at night, got in her car and into the deserted highway. After a few minutes, she noticed a long pair of a lone pair of headlights in the rearview mirror, approaching at a pace slightly quicker than hers. As the car pulled up behind her, she glanced and saw the turn signal on. The car was going to pass you, when suddenly it swerved back behind her, pulled up dangerously close to her tailgate, and the brights flashed. Now she was getting nervous. The lights dimmed for a moment, and when the brights came back on and the car behind her surged forward, the frightened woman struggled to keep her eyes on the road and fought the urge to look at the car behind her. Finally, her exit approached, but the car continued to follow, flashing the brights periodically. Through every stoplight and turn, it followed her until she pulled into her driveway. She figured her only hope was to make a mad dash to the house and call the police. As she flew from the car, so did the driver of the car behind her, and he screamed, "Lock the door and call the police! Call 911!" When the police arrived, the horrible truth was finally revealed to the woman. The man in the car had been trying to save her. As he pulled up behind her, and his headlights illuminated her car, he saw the silhouette of a man with a butcher knife rising up from the back seat to stab her. And she flashed his brights, and the figure crouched back down, because you would be able to see the shadow. I like this one. Like, this is... I hate... Part of me, like, also hates how potentially real world this could have been. And this could be some people's accounts. Like, you know, just keep that in mind. Of course, it's hard to tell because, like, we have tinted windows. Oh shit, it's gonna bleed again, isn't it? Alright. Headphones. Everyone uses their headphones these days. Be it on their cell phone, iPods, computers, and most people use them all day long on a high volume. But every time you plug your headphones in these devices, you're merely making the sound they actually make come out in a more powerful amplified volume. So if you plug your headphones in your iPod, you'll hear the sounds in a higher volume. But what will happen if you plugged your headphones in the air? What would you hear? Nothing? The sound of the air, maybe? Maybe the future? Let's go a little further. What would you hear? God? The Mother Nature? Angels? Prayers? Let's go even further. What if it's not the good things that you're going to hear? What would you hear? Screams? Agony? Suffering? Despair? The screams of Mother Nature when men destroy her? Would you hear death calling your name? Or even death saying the names of the people who will die in a little time? And these names are from all the people you like? Or even... by Lucid Trey. I'm sorry, I can't get behind this one. I can't. Okay, so yes, they amplify the sound, right? They don't amplify it themselves. I mean, Bluetooth ones can, but they have to have a electrical source for like, it's an electrical signal that it uses. Yeah. So it's electrical signals that it has to have. So you Bluetooth, it's radio signals that send radio signals send a audio signal from device to device, and then that gets translated to what you're supposed to be hearing. You know, you look at your headphone jack and you might see 3 sections where there's like, you see those 2 black lines. Those are because those are different sections for like the power section for the audio, the signal transfer, or something like that. I can't quite remember. how it goes, but like super layman's wise, like it's traveling along, it's a signal traveling along another signal being powered by another signal. Whatever. It's kind of like that from what I remember. Someone needs to clean that up and actually like get me right on that. But like understanding electronics, at least to the basic degree I do, even though I'm in avionics electronics, I mean, radio waves, man. Radio waves, whatever. They use minimal voltages to produce certain things. So I'm sorry, I can't get behind this one. This one just, I'm completely gone. I walked away on that one. God, I'm getting close to Herobrine. Alright. Heads up. Find a penny, pick it up, and all day long you'll have good luck. Children saying. Sally was a schoolyard scamp, superstitious despite her young age. Her mother had inadvertently passed on her notions, most notably the notion that picking up a penny tails up was bad luck. That particular notion came about one day when her mother got into a spot of bad luck and blamed a penny. "You leave that alone, John Michael," she shouted at a poor kid going to pick up a coin on the ground one stormy recess. She was a unique character in that she, like her mother, believed that only her ideas were the truth. The only real difference is that her mother had religious ideals and her superstitions were little more than excuses that Sally happened to take as truth. "I told you not to pick that up. Don't you know what you're doing?" she yelled as she slapped the penny out of John Michael's hand. When it landed, the coin was face up. Sally saw this and leapt at the chance to prove her point about coins and luck. She seized the coin and held it up high. "See?" she shouted at the children around her. "It's like I say, tails bad, heads good. This was face up. This is lucky." She was promptly struck by a bolt of irony. I'm sorry, that sounds like a punchline. It's a punchline. That... Great, now you're wanting me to go into into like some kind of lore bullshit. Like, oh, well, it's because... This is bizarre. Chat. Cloudbot, why aren't you working? Don't forget to